The gospel reading for today is Luke 13, verses 10 through 17. Now he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath, and just then there appeared a woman with a spirit that had crippled her for 18 years. She was bent over and quite unable to stand up. When Jesus saw her, he called her over and said, "Woman, you are set free from your ailment." When he laid his hands on her, immediately she stood up straight and began praising God. But the leader of the synagogue, indignant because Jesus had cured on the Sabbath, kept saying to the crowd, "There are 6 days on which work ought to be done. Come on those days and be cured, and not on the Sabbath day." But the Lord answered him and said, "You hypocrites! Does not each of you on the Sabbath untie his ox or his donkey from the manger and lead it away to give it water? And ought not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, who Satan bound for 18 long years, be set free from this bondage on the Sabbath day?" When he said this, all of his opponents were put to shame, and the entire crowd was rejoicing at all the wonderful things that he was doing.
Let me go and get
Okay, we are very, very excited to do this today, so I want to say Bienvenidos, buenos dias, amigas and amigos. That means good welcome, good morning to you. I have been in the church several years now. In the last 2 years, we've been fortunate enough to go to El Salvador for our mission, primarily because most people don't want to go. And I'm hoping today I can drum up some enthusiasm for that because it has definitely changed my life. So Dale and I are going to switch back and forth. We're going to show you different pictures. But at the end, I really would love for all of you to come to the well. So David Grisham, who's gone more times than we have, and Dale and I will be in the well, and we can answer more questions. Because in the short time Brent gave us, there's no way I can explain what this church has done for El Salvador in the last 17 years. Dale, do you want to start? No, Brent's our slide person because somebody else didn't show up.
Can you hear me? Wait a minute. My mic working? What? I don't think my mic's on. It's on.
All right, talk.
Okay, I'm going to talk real quick. All right, this is our trip out there, and from Talpatas, it's about 5 miles away to our village of Rio. And so on our way out there, of course, we're riding in the back of a truck, and about 1.5 miles before we get to our village, we turn a corner, and these gentlemen are on the corner with their signs out there and waving their signs and clapping for us and inviting us to their village. And they probably walked, like I say, 1.5 miles or so to get out there. And they're all smiling, happy to see us, and a great welcome to us.
This is just a picture of just to give you an idea of the land. Our village is basically maize and sugarcane and some bananas. The land is absolutely gorgeous when you're there. Very difficult to move around in, but it's just beautiful to just gaze at. So, many of you have met Carmen. I think that's it. Many of you have met Carmen when she's come to speak, but I don't know that you understand or remember even, most of us live this, but we don't. I taught history 43 years. We never taught about the El Salvadorian Civil War. It's not in the standards. So I have learned a great deal from the people there. Carmen, who has been to the church and spoken, is the person who handles our money that we take from this church there. Meticulous handwritten records. She meets with the scholarship students all the time, and she's now a teacher in Tapatis, which is where this mission first started. But Carmen was training under instruction to become a nun, and she was just devastated by what she saw going on with the corrupt government that they have. So she becomes a rebel. This is her at 17 years old, and she's one of the leaders. So her life changes dramatically because of this. So let me give you just like a minuscule picture of the Civil War. It starts in 1980s. Before that, the government is very corrupt. It's the wealthy people versus the poor people. And the corrupt government, as so many governments have been over history, was supported by the United States government. The rebels were supported by the Soviet Union. And yet they were the ones that were wanting the humanitarian changes. So what happens, if you remember, the Cold War ends in 1991. When that Cold War ends, El Salvador gets dropped by both the United States and by the Soviet Union. So the compromise is struck between the rebels and the government that the wealthy will give their land. Many of the wealthy had left their land. They will give their land partially to the rebels. Well, you can imagine what kind of land the wealthy people gave the rebels. So it's not very inhabitable. It's very dependent on the weather and rain. So it's a really poor area. All right, so Carmen joins a group called Voices for El Salvador. She comes to the United States. One of the places she went to was the church in Trinity. She's giving a speech explaining what's going on and trying to get people to help their country because there's no money there. So when she's there, this is where the hand of God comes into this that just amazed me. She's there. The man who starts this mission in Trinity 27 years ago, name is Ken Cott. Ken meets her there, just meets her, goes to the speech, and at the end, when they're having coffee, she says to Ken, "I'll see you in El Salvador." Ken had no plans on going to El Salvador. A year later, he's in El Salvador, just wandering, just walking the country. Guess who he runs into? Carmen. If that isn't God working, I don't know what is. And he asks Carmen, he says, "Carmen, what are you doing?" And Ken is very fluent in Spanish, so okay, he can speak with Carmen. Carmen has very little English. And Carmen says, she's with Donnie, one of the rebels. She says, "We're going to form a village with the 5 acres that we got." They all got 5 acres. And Ken said, "I've never formed a village, so I'll go with you." And that's how this whole mission started. And somewhere along the line, 17 years ago, David Grisham hooks up with Ken. I don't know how. I don't remember that. So after the service, you need to ask him the story, how he got this mission into our church for a little village that's smaller. It's 78 families in our village. 78 families, but there's 100 kids in our school. So I just wanted you to know the background so that you can see what a change we've made in the lives of these people in 17 years. What's the next slide?
Yeah. Okay, so up there now we're showing a mural that they have on a wall on one of the buildings there. And they put this mural in a few years back. They painted it, but it shows the different things that we have, as a congregation, have sent to them or paid for them to improve their village. So up there you'll see we pay for teachers, see the supplies and the books, the water system. We redid the water. They redid the water system with our help. So now it's purification. So that's for the village and the school. And what else is up there? We built the kitchen area and storage buildings. And they put this up to thank us, the congregation here in Wichita, for the help that they were able to do this. Oh, I'm on again. Okay, here's a picture again of some of the storage buildings they have in the background way over there. You can see their outdoor bathrooms over there in that area. Storage sheds. See the little, they do have, you see the satellite dishes out there. They do have some, communication for their cell phones and stuff that they have. So it's improving the community. Okay? Okay, there's a picture.
Dale, this is mine.
Oh, this is yours? Well, you're on.
You know, this man wouldn't practice at all. He said, I got this, so, you know,
Okay.
you're going to have to excuse him today.
I like to keep talking.
All right. This is a picture that will show you exactly the impact that we have had on this church. The shorter guy next to Dale, that's Vladimir. Vladimir is the first student that we put through high school and through college. He is now a teacher in that school that we fund, and he's from the village. The gentleman to my side is Manuel. Manuel is Vladimir's brother. We also put him through school, high school and through college, and he chose to return to the village. They want to grow their village. It's not like what you're hearing with all these people are exiting their countries and want to come to America. They don't want to come here. They love us. They love our support. They want to stay there and grow their village and build a strong El Salvador that's based on the principles of democracy. When you talk with them, it just breaks your heart. Here's what breaks my heart. With our shrinking congregation and our shrinking funding, Dale and I had to sit with them and tell them that we may not be able to fund them next year. We might not be able to have them be teachers there. If that happens, we pay them $500 a month. That's their salary. It's an incredible little amount when you think of a teacher's salary here. If we can't fund these two gentlemen for next year, the school will only be kindergarten through 6th grade. That means the 26 other students in the school can't go to school unless they go to Telepatis, which is 5 miles away. It's primarily girls in that 26 group. Their parents will not let them walk because, first of all, it takes us an hour to drive the 5 miles. Can you imagine the walking? And they have to be careful that they're not kidnapped for slave trade or sex trade or gangs. So that means their education ends at 6th grade. And the problem for me is we have gotten to know these kids now, and it breaks my heart that for $500 a month to a teacher that we might not be able to afford it. So I really want to show the impact of what this congregation has done so that we can come up with some ideas to keep this school going for this village. Okay. Next one. When we go to the village, and when you go into the well, you're going to see all these presents. They give us presents every year. This year I talked to him and I said, can you skip the presents and put that money for the presents that you give our church to show your appreciation into your school? And it crushed them. I had to apologize. They plan all year for our coming in July of what they're going to give. The kids save money. I mean, they do tremendous things to try and give back to our church so our church can see how much they appreciate what they're doing for them. I think about that, and I think about some kids that I have in my neighborhood, and could they be like that? So we have to stand up and in Spanish thank them, which of course Dale always says, you're doing it.
What, this is my turn? What's this now? At the school? Okay, pictures of okay, here's another picture of the school, part of the big school building. Again, you can see out in the middle there is their water purification system. They pipe this water down from the mountainside down to this area, have it purified, and they use it in the village. Over on this other side on the right would be their kitchen area. They provide some food for the village people, actually, and the children at lunchtime. And you can't really see it, but it's pretty much all outdoors. It's not. Their fireplaces and stuff, they use wood and just burn it over the stove, and under the stove, I should say, and that's how they cook their food.
This, you can see the faces. This is a 7th grade class. Each class makes a presentation to us, and this is a 7th grade class making the presentation to First Presbyterian for everything that we've done, and then each one of these kids has to give us a hug. Every one of them, it just tugs at you when you think about it. So when we're talking about a school, I want you to picture the school you went to. Because when I first got there, I taught 43 years. I had some great classrooms. I had great parents to give me things. I had great PTAs. When we got there, I was just shocked. It's a cinder block building. There is nothing in the classrooms, mostly. They sit on the floor. They do have some desk for the little kids, but the roof leaks, so the paint's peeling. The tops are coming off of the desk. They don't have textbooks at all. Paper and pencil, that type of thing. So this year from our church, both Presbyterian women and then all of mine and Dale's personal friends, we got a list from the school of supplies they needed. And then Mary got a bunch of things for us, Mary Connect. And we took the biggest amount of things to that school that you could imagine. From play equipment to medicines. The school teachers are the doctors there and nurses. They don't have any medical. So they ask for all kinds of drugs. When the principal, who you'll see her picture in the well, when Gloria, the principal, saw that, she just burst into tears over things like Band-Aids and Advil and cough syrup. And one of the things they requested that we couldn't figure out was oral speech. They needed oral speech brought to them. So I asked everybody, sent it around everybody in church that I knew, what does this mean? You know what it was? They needed mouthwash. What you have to realize is, imagine this. You're living in a town that doesn't have a store. There's no store. How do they get their clothing? Goodwill every 3 months brings bundles that didn't sell in America. And they spread them out under their community tree, and families come, and they all keep trying on things to get the right sizes. It's a place with no hot water. I thought about this morning, I'm taking a shower. There's no showers. There's no shower, it's a cup and water, and it's cold, even though the weather's hot. So the point of all that, I never heard one person complain while I was there. I think about that every day since I'm home, and I don't want to complain.
Okay. Okay, here's well, as we're driving out there, this is the roads, and you can see there's cattle. We're slowing down. Judy and Phil were just talking about in Africa, where they went with the elephants and stuff going across the road and stuff. Well, down here, you see the cattle crossing the road. There's pigs, there's chickens. We didn't get a picture of it, but there was an ox cart with kids loaded in it that we had to go around. And there should be a next picture also. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's another picture of the road. Look at that road. And this is what the type of road these kids would have to walk 5 miles on to get to school if they were going on, if we didn't provide the school there. And let me see. Okay.
This is the school board president. Okay. She was there last year and this year. When we go to the school, they're so excited. You saw the gentleman out on the road. The kids have practiced these presentations for us for months, and the whole community comes out. In fact, they have a pastor there who gives the longest prayer I've heard in my life. I'm not kidding you. He beats Brent by like a 40-minute. It's like a 40-minute prayer. Your neck is like this. But everybody's really respectful, and it's all in Spanish, so he goes pretty fast. So I only get a lot of it. But the gist of what he's saying to the people is how thankful they should be for life, for God, and for Wichita, Kansas. That just is amazing to me that they live this. It's not something where, give me this. Okay, bye. They are so touched by what our church does. They ask questions about our church and what it's like and what are the people like and how many kids are in it. They're so fascinated with this. So the school board president is just the nicest lady, and she's always making sure they don't eat a lot of meat there. And she's always making sure for the lunch that they put on for us that the Wichita people and the Topeka people get chicken on their plate. And these are the scrawniest chickens you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my turn.
Okay, this is Juan Carlos. I talked to you about Vladimir, our first student that we put through high school and college, then his brother Manuel. This is Juan Carlos. He's in his second year of high school, and he needs a scholarship for next year. For these kids to go on to high school, there's no high school in the town. So they have to take a bus. It's over an hour ride. It's not free education. They have to pay a tuition. They have to have supplies, and they have to have a uniform. So the only way, Juan Carlos, he came to see us 3 times with different letters because he really needs us to fund him for next year. So I'm hoping that somehow, I'm praying to God every night, that we're going to be able to not only fund the 2 teachers, but to actually give scholarships to the 4 students that need them. David Grisham has carried the brunt of these scholarships. Our church has paid the teacher's salary, but David, through himself and his friends, have gotten the scholarships. So now, David's still working on this, but Dale and I have now taken it on too. All of our friends are kind of shut the door when they see us coming, but you could not think, if you can only give $10 to a kid, it would be amazing how you are changing the life of somebody. And I think for me, in the political times that we live in, and what I see happening with our treatment as Americans of immigrants, this program's even more and more important to me.
Right. Is that mine?
That's you.
Oh, okay, there's a picture of DJ with some of the students from the, is that the 7th?
That's the 8th grade.
8th graders.
Those are the
Some of
girls that will need
yeah.
scholarships next
Yeah.
year.
And who's that sitting next? I can't see. Oh, who's that standing next to him? Is that the guy, Carlos?
That's Carlos, the
Yeah, that's-
security.
Huh? The security? Okay, the guy on the right, he is in charge of their community security, okay? They don't have any policemen there. If they do call police, it'll take them over an hour to get there, if they show up at all. So they have set up a community security there in their village where he's in charge of making, where there's 4 gentlemen every night goes out, they go out around 10 o'clock at night till 4 in the morning, patrolling their village, keeping it safe for that the gangs or whatever don't come in, like DJ said, to kidnap people, sex trafficking, whatever. And but so last year we bought them there flashlights. They needed flashlights, and they needed water ponchos for when it was raining. And a year or so before that, we sent money down for boots. They got boots and stuff like that they needed. So these kind of people like him, he has a regular job, job where he farms, but they work also besides that. Think about that. Can we go out there, from 10 o'clock at night till 4 in the morning, policing our village? I don't think so. We wouldn't want to.
And last year when they were there, they asked if we could help find them some equipment for patrolling. Did you go over that?
Yeah, all the flashlights and stuff, yeah.
And this year they still have the rain gear and everything that we gave them, which they thanked us again for, even though they thanked us last year for it. So this is the delegation from Topeka and from Wichita, and then the community members. And every year they want a picture of that. They get a picture and they put it on a plaque and it goes in the principal's office. And so we can look back and see the years. And there are people that I'm sure are from First Presby from before I belonged here in the pictures. But David's in a lot of them, and I have to tell you this. The kids were so disappointed that David didn't go with us this year, that they made a special thing for him and they all wrote in it to him. So that was pretty neat to bring back to David. Okay.
Okay, this is a picture real quick of the playground that they have there at the school. Notice it's dirt, but that's what they got and that's what they use.
Okay, so I want to tag on to that. When you think about, I told you about the classroom, you think about a classroom and what we went through and what they have there, then you look at this playground, but also the kitchen of the school, which we helped do. When I say kitchen in El Salvador, they're all outdoors. They cook outdoors. Go in the well and look at some of the pictures I have up. They're usually round metal disc, and they just take wood, get the wood on fire, and they keep shoving 2 sticks of wood in, and that's how they cook. So everything there is very elementary, and yet they're just the happiest people, more laughing, more talking, families together. It's just a fabulous experience.
Okay, this is a plaque on the building, part of the school. We added a few years back room onto the building, and you notice the picture up there on the plaque shows that, what should I say? But they're thanking us for doing that. And then there's a picture of us receiving from the 7th, 8th grade, whatever, a plaque that they gave us. Okay. And
Okay, and this is Vladimir giving a speech to the students, explaining who we are. I mean, they met us last year, but explaining it to the community members and them, and explaining what's going to go on for the program. It is burning up out there, and this program goes from 10 o'clock to about 4 o'clock. So, I mean, everybody wants to thank the people from First Presbyterian, so it's quite an involved process for them. This picture is the scholarship scholarship meeting. Every year, Trinity and Wichita, First Presby, we meet with all the scholarship recipients. Each one of them stands up, tells us what year they're in, gives us a letter. And in the letter, they also have a copy of their grades, so they can show you how well they're doing. For the families, the El Salvadorian families of our 2 villages, the #1 priority in their life is that their kids get educated. It's not like some groups where they want the kid to go out and go to McDonald's and make money. They want these kids studying, and they want them in school, and they want them to come back to the village, and that's stressed over and over. So that's not like they want them to become immigrants and move someplace else. They really want to keep them there. So I want to read you an excerpt. We have a student named Heidi. We have put her through 3 years of college. Actually 4. She changed her major. So we don't have a scholarship for her right now. And the last 2 years, and David's very attached to Heidi too, she's majoring in English to be able to be a translator, which is desperately needed in El Salvador. She has 1 year left. So I'm trying to raise a scholarship for her to finish it. While we were there, her father got bitten by a poisonous snake in the sugarcane field. There are no doctors there. There's very few vehicles. They got a truck finally. They tied a tourniquet on him. They got him to the hospital. Heidi stayed with him in intensive care in the hospital, which is 2.5 hours away. It was touch and go. Every day we would check to see while we were there what was going on. And anyway, he came back our last day. He came back the last night. And his leg, I've never seen anything like this. I mean, it was atrocious. Now think about this. He's back in the village. There's no hot water. There's no doctor. There's the antiseptic that we took. What? Just say it.
Time.
Okay. And so Heidi wrote this letter. This is before her dad got bit. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but it says, the reason for writing is to thank the help that your church is providing to the young people to be able to develop professionally and help our country. Also for the support that you provide to all of our schools. Further, the support that our communities have received from you. It fills me with pride to have been a part of this beautiful project, and although I have not the scholarship this year, I feel part of the project forever, because it was a big support for me to give me what I have already had. It's just so touching, and we use her as a translator there, so another reason that I'd like to see her stay and like to see her finish her education. So the next 3, you can just do the next 3. These are all scholarship recipients. We have a nurse from ours that just graduated, she's going to stay in the village, which brings me to their health care, and I'll do this quickly. They have only midwives. There are 3 of them. Last year, El Salvador outlawed the use of midwives. Who do they go to there? They've also, last year, came up with a law, if you have a miscarriage, you go to trial for murder. It is the most backward medical system I've seen. There are 3 women there. Josefina is in her 80s, and she does such a good job with the women, but we sit down and we have a whole afternoon meeting of what do they need. They were so happy to think about this. I hadn't thought about it before, but the church from Trinity, somebody donated 50 pairs of reading glasses. They don't have any stores in these towns. Where would you get a reading glass as an older person? They cried. These 3 women cried, and they were so excited. But think about this. The worst thing that they were talking about is they needed some type of medicine to numb someone that needed stitches.
Anesthesia.
The kids need stitches. The way they do it there is one of the midwives holds them and the other one stitches. They have nothing to put on it. It's incredible, the medical part of El Salvador. So, in closing, I want you to go look at those pictures. I want you to think about your life versus their life. I want you to think about the hardship of going to school and kids that are willing to walk to get to school over the most terrible conditions I've ever seen. And there was a man named Koke who was also a rebel. And he said to us the last night, we talk to our children every day about their heritage and our history and how lucky they are to be free. And he said that they tell them that they are the seeds, and First Presbyterian is actually what grows those seeds so that they're able to be educated. And so he said to us, the very last words he said were, "You are forever in our history cycle." And he said, even if you can't fund us next year, you are forever in our history cycle. Not the way we would phrase things, but it really touched me. And then one of the girls that came the last day to say goodbye, they all come in the morning to say goodbye. Everybody walks through, and this was Ken's last year to go there after 27 years, so it was quite an emotional farewell. In fact, they went with us to the main highway, which is quite a ways, just everybody going, and it was crazy. But the last thing that was said to me was, for me to remember that, and I'm going to quote this girl, "Death is not final when your work lives on." And then she hugged me and said, "Your work lives on." Okay, thank you for listening.
Yep, thank you.